Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Well, that's better. A very special welcome to you, and thank you for joining us this evening here at this St. Michael's School. This is the third session, National Consultation, Conversation, Talk, call it what you will, where we get a chance to discuss, to converse, and to hear your solutions, your offerings, your comments, perhaps one or two questions as we talk about traffic management in Barbados. And so the Ministry of Transport and Works used this initiative as a means of hearing from Barbadians, whether it be in this direct process or online. So we thank you for joining us. I'm Antoine Williams. Allow me to recognize the members of the head table. At the outset, I acknowledge the Minister of Transport and Works, the Minister of Transport and Works, Senior Coordinating Infrastructure, Kirk Humphrey, Minister of State in the Ministry of Transport and Works, Dr. Rommel Springer, Permanent Secretary, Jehu Wilcher, and we also have present at the head table the Chief Technical Officer, Jennifer King, Jason Boyne, Deputy Chief Technical Officer, Design Services, Richard Austin, Deputy Chief Technical Officer, Operations, and also present at the head table is Trika McCarthy Brooms, Chief Licensing Officer of the Barbados Licensing Authority. I also want to recognize Gina Boyce, Operations Manager of the Transport Board. You would recognize also, is Ruth here? Yes, and I also recognize Ruth down in the corner. Good to see you. Ruth Holder, Director of the Transport Authority. I also would want to take this opportunity in our acknowledgements to also acknowledge our Barbados Police Service representatives, they've been with us for the last two consultations, and we're pleased that you are also here joining us. This evening, we want to hear your feedback, because we know that in Barbados, traffic can be described as horrendous, and we can put it down to a number of factors, and then we internalize it, and then we get road rage, we get angry, and all the other emotions that may very well come out. So let us hope that coming out of this presentation that we have some exciting consultations. I also want to recognize and welcome our online audience, and for the purpose of submissions, the email address is information.unit@publicworks.gov.bb, and the WhatsApp number is 266-3780. I now invite Minister Humphrey to offer the opening remarks.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Chair. As you know, this is now the third presentation. We will have two more. One that will be on Wednesday at the Alexandra School in the north, and we propose to add one more central at Leicester Vaughan. We haven't set the date for that one, and then we will return some date in the future to show you what it is that we would have gathered from these consultations, both in terms of the richness of the contributions, but how it has influenced our thinking in relation to how we should go forward. I don't think I need to tell anyone in this room that the traffic situation is very concerning. It's very concerning to all of us. It's concerning to the government. It's concerning to us as commuters, as Barbadians, those of us who have to travel in it. On days like today where school is out, where it's a little bit easier, it tells us that there is a solution to be had even in that itself. And so those are the kind of conversations we're going to be having. I should also say that in the last few weeks, in the conversations that I shared, I would have placed a lot of my focus on the Mass Transit Authority. And I think it is incumbent on me to deal with the matter fairly directly and upfront in relation to mass transit before we begin the consultations. There was a point at which it was carried in the press that the union would have agreed to us going forward in the Mass Transit Authority, the Barbados Workers Union, that the Barbados Workers Union would have agreed to us going forward in the new Mass Transit Authority, which will be in its best form the Transport Board, the current Transport Authority merged, and dealing with the issues that affect us relating to traffic, period, relating to transport, period. The ZRs, ZMs, the Zs, public transport, minibuses, and so on. And regrettably, it was carried, and I think this is on us, that the Barbados Workers Union had agreed to a divestment of sorts where we would have seen workers losing their jobs, even if they were to be re-embraced in a new entity. And I think I need to say up front, while we are focusing very much on the mass transit as a solution, that the Barbados Workers Union never agreed to any particular format for that to take. And in fact, the conversations and the consultations are now beginning heavily with the union. And I know it was carried in the press, and I just feel the need for us to address it and to say, and for me, I think also to offer a very public apology to the Barbados Workers Union in relation to what was carried, because I think it was our fault. But that those conversations are now beginning as we discuss how the Mass Transit Authority will look. Having said that, though, I think the Mass Transit Authority is critical to helping us resolve traffic or traffic issues in relation to help us manage both public and private transport on the road, and in relation to the new future for Barbados. I think what we all agreed upon is that we cannot continue as we are with transport. And so I look forward to the conversations with the union. There is no future where we push the workers out, but I think they're going to be integral in the new future that we establish with the Mass Transit Authority. And so I look forward to having those conversations as we build out what I think is going to be a fairly exciting time for us and for this country. And, you know, we go back to these consultations, we would have heard a lot of different ideas that we cherish. The Permanent Secretary will go through some of those ideas. And of course, Jason will speak to some other issues. But I just want to thank the public for the level of involvement and the level of participation thus far. And I look forward to us having a very engaging and constructive conversation during the course of the evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. It is now the opportunity for you to hear some of the points shared, whether online or in person, coming out of our last two sessions. So I invite now Permanent Secretary Jehu Wiltshire to offer a summation of the previous meetings.
Good evening, everyone. As Minister Humphrey indicated, we have had some very rich feedback from the public, both in terms of the two meetings that we had previously, as well as submissions that were sent in by email and by WhatsApp, and they covered various areas in terms of traffic management, infrastructural development and urban planning, school transport, new modes of transport, measures to reduce the number of vehicles on the roads, safety and enforcement, as well as road quality and standards. As I said, the feedback was very rich. In fact, one person even submitted a 25-page document with extensive diagrams and tables, so we are very thankful for the feedback that we have received. So I'll just go through some of the measures that have been suggested to the ministry. Now, in terms of traffic management, we have had suggestions in terms of dedicated bicycle and pedestrian lanes to promote a healthier Barbados, as reflected in the Trailway project, as well as the bus lanes where space is available, dedicated one-way lanes which could be implemented at peak periods. It was even suggested the designation of a full zonal policy for children who live close to schools who will go to these nearby institutions. In terms of, we had significant suggestions in terms of junction improvements. For example, the timing of traffic lights at several junctions need to be improved, especially to accommodate right-turning traffic, the painting of yellow box markings at roundabouts to prevent motorists entering roundabouts and blocking traffic, the implementing of median U-turns similar to the lollipop, as we call it, at Warrens, the installation of traffic lights at roundabouts, suggestions in terms of using the hard shoulder as another lane when approaching roundabouts for left turning traffic, no right turns at peak periods in congested areas such as Wildy and 6 Roads. In fact, it was suggested that a person should not stay in traffic for 10 or 15 minutes to buy a snack box at Chauffeur in 6 Roads. In terms of infrastructural development and urban planning, there were suggestions or rather agreement with the overpasses at junctions on the ABC Highway that are prone to gridlock, the construction of more roundabouts to accommodate right turning traffic to avoid traffic turning right into nearby side roads and causing congestion. And we have even had a suggestion for a grade separated light rails or monorail system over the highway, over the ABC Highway, which would be integrated with the overpasses. There was a recommendation that the government needs to be more expansive in its approach to infrastructural planning. For example, that the planning horizon should be 25 years, particularly for emerging town centers such as 6 Roads. There was a suggestion that the ministry should convert 2-lane highways into 4-lane highways where space is available, such as at Waterford Road, St. Michael, and Carmichael Road, St. George. In terms of school transport, we have had suggestions for an exclusive school transport system for students, as well as a popular suggestion, park and ride hubs for school children. Since we realized, as Mr. Humphrey said, school run traffic is a cause of peak hour gridlock. We have had suggestions for new modes of transport, including the establishment of a ferry service and water taxis from Oystons to Bridgetown and then on to Speightstown. In terms of public transportation, there's a suggestion for the provision of real-time tracking of buses so that commuters may know when buses will arrive. Actually, that is an app that the Transport Board will be launching soon. Also, the creation of a hub and spoke system where high-capacity buses would serve major arterial routes between hubs and smaller PSV buses would operate as feeder services on the spokes. In terms of measures to reduce the number of vehicles on the roads, we have had suggestions, a very popular suggestion for park and ride, for the implementation of a strategy to reduce the importation of vehicles, recognizing that Barbados has in excess of 181,000 vehicles on the road, which the Prime Minister, as you know, would have stated, registered vehicles on the road, which the Prime Minister, as you know, would have stated, really is unsustainable. We have had suggestions for the reintroduction of work from home policies, as was implemented during COVID, and staggered work hours, and even a suggestion that the government should provide tax incentives for our businesses that implement work from home policies and staggered working hours. We have even had a suggestion that the government should implement a toll system to enter Bridgetown and other designated areas, as has been implemented, as you know, in London. And one notable suggestion, I understand this was implemented in Bermuda and in some Latin American countries, is that government should prescribe even and uneven numbers for registration plates so that motorists will only be allowed to go on the roads on specific days, which would reduce the number of vehicles on the road by about 50% at any one time. In terms of safety and enforcement, it was suggested that there needs to be greater regulation for container trucks, which pose a major safety risk. And one popular suggestion is that there should be more rigid enforcement of the road traffic regulations to curb the behavior of some PSV drivers, which actually discourage public transport use. We have also had general suggestions in terms of the construction of more sidewalks, the installation of more street lights, and improved lighting at major junctions. One last category is road quality and standards. One suggestion is that the ministry, when paving roads, should address at the same time the raising of manhole covers, which lead to what one person called engineered manholes, and the ministry will engineered potholes, sorry, and the ministry will be implementing a program to address that issue later in this financial year. One suggestion is also the use of a modernized asphalt mix design that would lead to greater durability of the roads, and the head of the BNSI spoke on that matter at our last town hall meeting in terms of coming up with a new mix for asphalt mix. And the last, of course, is the need for the faster patching of potholes, the existence of which can lead to slower speeds of traffic and cause traffic congestion, as the minister would have indicated at our last meeting. The ministry will be embarking, in fact, has embarked on an extensive pothole patching program. So those are some of the measures that have been were suggested at the last two town hall meetings, and that we have received by email and by WhatsApp, and we encourage the public to continue to send in your feedback. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, PS. I was trying to count them, but I lost count, actually. Perhaps you did too. But that is certainly commendable, and I'm sure uplifting for the ministry. And perhaps you're wondering, so what will be done with all of these suggestions and more? And it certainly would not be a case of throwing them in a basket and then throwing them up in the air, but the ministry will gauge and, of course, take great note and work accordingly with what can only be deemed as ideal. Again, for the purpose of those online and you who are here who may want to submit suggestions, solutions, or who may have a question, the email information is information.unit@publicworks.gov.bb, and the WhatsApp number is 266-3780. It's now your turn to speak. But before you do that, seems as though I'm eager to hear from you. We will now have a presentation from the Deputy Chief Technical Officer, Design Services, Jason Boyne. So please take note.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. At this point, I'm going to take you through my presentation. Just a quick synopsis of the existing situation, and then after that, we will go back to your, well, it's all about you and your comments and solutions. Just one second. All right. On this slide, I've discussed this slide on numerous occasions relative to the speeds coming in and out of, well, going into Bridgetown. This is the average speeds. And on this slide, you can see that the speeds are absolutely, well, I don't want to say ridiculous, but that's what they really are. You can see in some cases, you can have 5 kilometers, an average speed of 5 kilometers per hour heading into Bridgetown on the morning peaks. So that's really not good, not acceptable. On this slide, you can see here the 10 most congested roads in Barbados using information from a program called Waze. That's a nice program, a navigation program where it's available for anyone to use. What it does is that you use a cell phone and an app, and it can help you navigate and find the best routes to whatever the destination that you want in Barbados. And that is what happens is that it collects that information. It collects your information and in terms of speeds and so forth. So we are able to access this information, and you can see the areas in red, which are the roads which are some of the roads which are most congested. Right? All right, going on to this area. This is another app which we use from Google. This app, it basically shows the speeds, the typical traffic in Barbados on roads. It's an entire map, so I just took some snapshots of that of areas around the country, and you can see this Bank Hall area, and there's significant congestion. The deep red represents congested or slow-moving traffic. The green areas are areas where traffic is moving pretty fast. This area here, Gemmett's Lane, we all know that on Gemmett's Lane there's significant congestion in this area. It's an area where I know Barbadians really, they've always complained about this area in terms of traffic, and after you get past the signals at Beckles Road, everything seems to be free and clear. These junctions have some capacity problems, but there are also some issues where there are a number of stops where, like for instance, if you look at this photo on the right, you can see there's an uncontrolled crossing that is here. There's some bus stops with no bus labours on either side, and then you also have persons wanting to make a right turn into and out of the parking area that is there. It may seem small, but every stop along this corridor will cause significant congestion. This is the area here, Holborn. You can see on mornings, the Spring Garden side is deep red on mornings, significant congestion on that end. And then on evenings, if you look on the area coming from Fontabelle, there's significant congestion heading back along. It's reversed and it's heading back along Fontabelle, right? Now, this area here is an area that has significant congestion. This is the Halls Road, Government Hill area. You can see the area by the roundabout, by the James A. Tudor roundabout. And this on mornings, traffic is delayed all the way through Tweedside Road, right up through Government Hill at times. Then they're on other roads relative to the Constitution Road, Belmont Road, Halls Road. That area is fully backed up on mornings. And then on evenings, it tends to reverse. And you can see now traffic is backed up from the James A. Tudor roundabout back onto Roebuck Street, onto Country Road. Now, the interesting thing about this one, if you were to look at Tweedside Road, you would notice that the deep red stops at a point along the road, which tends to correspond to the area of its Baycroft Road and St. Hill Road. In those areas, you get a lot of crossing from the side roads, crossing the road itself. And what happens in that area, that causes significant congestion. It's not the only thing, but it partly explains why we have significant congestion from there all the way through Country Road, all the way through. The roundabout is unable to handle the traffic because they're spilled back from Tweedside Road on to Roebuck Street, and then from Roebuck Street on to Country Road. All right, just moving on quickly to a number of possible solutions. We're not saying this is the final because we're taking on board your solutions as well. We're putting it all into the mix, and we're going to develop a final document of solutions that we will then take it forward and bring back to you on a later date. So, 3 approaches that we can look at: capacity expansion. In other words, we'll be looking at adding more lanes, or you can add flyovers or overpasses. In terms of traffic flow optimization, we are looking at modernizing the traffic junctions that we have. We're using new technology, artificial intelligence, signals, which can actually adjust the flow. It measures the actual traffic flows and will adjust the traffic flows relative to that. So it's no longer the old time where you would go and necessarily take measurements and take forever to make those adjustments, all right? In terms of demand management, we can also look at things of demand management. I think some of our previous sessions, persons would have mentioned about tolls. Well, those are things that are possible in terms of road pricing. We can also look at our parking management. Parking is in Bridgetown is a free for all for everyone. It's very cheap. It's very, very cheap. Encourages persons to drive into Bridgetown, and those are things that we're going to have to look at. In fact, there are many areas of Bridgetown where there's parking is free, and those are things that we're going to have to look at going long term, right? There's also another area. This is public transport. In terms of the public transport, we have to look at improving the overall public transport. The minister would have spoken about the Mass Transit Authority and bringing on board not just the Transport Board, the Transport Authority, but also all those PSVs which are under the Transport Authority under one body, who will then organize proper scheduling and plans for everyone to better utilize, better optimize the transport network for everyone. Another possible solution we can look at, a number of one-ways across the country. This is just a possible outcome. You can have one-ways where you either have one-ways coming into and out of town, and then you can also have one-ways along the roads which go around, pass around Bridgetown as well, so that persons they can help improve the throughput and for more vehicles to pass through the area. There's also a possible alternate route that persons currently are using. However, along this route, especially in the Canewood area, it actually stretches from Canewood right the way through down to Coverley, the Lowlands, Coverley area. Persons are using that as a route to get past the congested ABC highway. And however, this route is now also congested in a number of areas. So you can see in the Lears area, there's significant congestion that motorists will face. Traffic is backed up pretty far, and we have to do some junction improvements. In fact, we are proposing to look at a possible roundabout solution to improve the flows at that junction. And we will also look at some of the other junctions along this route as well to improve the flows along there. And no matter now, going to the final set of solutions that we're looking at, we did speak about public transit systems. So basically, we're looking at, as I said, establishing a mass transit authority. We're looking at upgrading the fleet that we have, more electric buses. Also, there's the cashless systems and various other information to inform the public in terms of when buses will be coming. We're looking at using apps for that to help bring that information to the public faster, help you to inform your decisions and inform and plan your journeys. In terms of the road network and traffic management optimization, I would have spoken about the adaptive smart traffic signals. We're looking at changing all of our signals and bring them into more advanced AI influence technology to help reduce the delay. We have to also look at improving the capacity at a number of junctions out there. Some of them are not properly, don't have sufficient capacity to assist the users or to handle the load that's currently using them. So a number of junctions have to be improved. We are looking at establishing a traffic management center where all of this information will go to that center so that first we can make interventions where necessary and so forth. I mentioned in terms of the parking, we need to improve parking, particularly in Bridgetown. Parking is at this point free on many roads, but also very cheap at many of the off-street parking lots. And this is something that we need to improve on. We need to improve on its enforcement and identify the areas that persons can park and so forth. Also, in the next slide, well, previous slide, I should have also indicated about the park and ride system. That is something that we need to, we are actively looking at employing. We had also looked at some areas for schools where we were looking to pilot something, pilot a school system where we can have persons from possibly the Oistins area. You can gather there and then be shuttled to the St. Lawrence Composite. We're looking at something like that, still in its infancy. Also, we are looking at other modes. So in terms of the bicycle networks, I think the Permanent Secretary would have mentioned in terms of the bicycle lanes, better improve walking facilities. We are actually developing a project, Bridgetown pedestrianization, and in particularly Broad Street and a number of other roads, where we want to improve the sidewalks, improve the facilities for the disabled so that they have better ramps that they can utilize. In fact, all of the signal technology we are looking at to ensure that they are audible so that when let's say for instance, someone who's visually impaired goes to the junction, they will make a sound so that they will know when to cross. All right, and at this point in time, I will hand back to the Master of Ceremonies to continue.
Thank you very much, Jason. So you've heard from Jason Boyne in terms of some of the possible plans, looking at traffic management. This is build the way forward. And now it is your turn to make your presentations. Now, on arrival, those of you who are desirous of doing so, you were given a slip, and on that slip is a number. I will call the number, and you will just go to the microphone and present. I'm asking you to be mindful of time, so make your presentations as brief and concise as possible. If you do have a question, then please indicate to whom you would want to pose that question. But the focus really is on your offerings and making them, as I said, as brief and concise as possible within a time frame, perhaps 3 minutes, 4 minutes, all depends. So let's now hear from you, members of the audience, and I call number 1.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Manfred Mackenzie. I am not born in Barbados. My wife is Barbadian. My 2-year-old son is Barbadian, and I'm hopeful that in August...
Excuse me for interrupting, but please, as you present at the very outset, you can also indicate by telling us your name. My apologies.
I thank the audience for their engagement.
He actually cut you off at the best part, so I think you might wanna go over that again.
No, I won't. I would say that I was going to end with that in August of this year, I hope to get my Barbadian citizenship, and then I will also be able to say that I is a Bayesian. So I'm hopeful. Okay, a bit of practice on my part. So I'm a consultant with the Future Center Trust and the Barbados Trailway, and I'm passionate about that because we get to campaign for a healthier Barbados, we get to campaign for protection of our environment and this beautiful Barbados, and for sustainability, and part of why I'm here this evening, and my colleague as well. And so, on that note, I'd like to ask the panel, I think in particular it's for the Minister, about assurances that the public will be able to receive on whether a thorough cost-benefit analysis will be made as pertains to the solutions being proposed before they are progressed. I ask that specifically because only recently I've read in the media about how NCD's cost to productivity or loss of productivity of $140 million a year. I've read in the same article about how, in terms of remedies related to these same NCDs in Barbados, this is a cost of $800 million a year. These are staggering, staggering numbers. And so it's really important that we are clear on the cost-benefit analysis. I also heard this week still of the Minister of Finance speaking to the tourism sector about how improved infrastructure is so necessary to encourage the build-up of tourism in Barbados, and how the numbers are on the increase, and how we need better pavements, the town country planning people to work with the different ministries. These are essential, and so, this is why this becomes pressing to find out that there is going to be a thorough cost-benefit analysis. I want to be able to push my son on a buggy, without fear of reprisal from a ZR or any other vehicle on the roads. So it would be encouraging to receive those assurances, and I thank the panel for their time. Thank you for this process as well, engaging the community like this. It's real encouragement as well, so I thank everyone here for that as well. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Yes, thank you for your question as well. And I look forward to having you as a Barbadian in the next few months also. To answer your question directly in relation to the cost-benefit analysis, we intend to share what our findings are on everything. But I think your deeper point and presentation was really about the cost of us not moving as a people. And one of the things I think we've tried to make clear during the course of these consultations is that it's not only about moving cars or buses, it's about moving people moving. And I would not want for us to give any impression that at the end of the day we're only concerned about infrastructure and other things, but that in reality we are very concerned about how we get people to move from A to B. The figures you quoted in relation to the cost of us becoming this sedentary lifestyle that we lead, where we just sit all day and do nothing all day, is costing Barbados a lot. In my previous ministry, I was the minister responsible for persons with disabilities. And a significant amount of persons with physical disabilities are as a result of NCDs, and as a result of what we termed in the ministry avoidable illness, if people were to move a little bit more. The ministry would tell you that in all the conversations we're having, not only am I concerned about widening roads where they are necessary to do so, but creating lanes for people to walk and for bike lanes and so on and so forth, and making that part of the Barbadian standard of doing things. One of the regrettable components of our progress has unfortunately been that people have traded a nice walk for a car or a bus ride, and the things that I think people should be able to focus on. So I hope that these consultations take us back to that point, where we can start talking about behavioral change as part of our overall progress as a country and as a society, and as part of our transportation forward as well. So yes, we will share a cost-benefit analysis, but I think it's clear, to be truthful, I think it is clear that we cannot afford for Barbadians not to be moving. And it is unfortunate that, notwithstanding the fact that we've had this knowledge, we haven't built systems that have allowed people to move. And so going forward, that is the way we intend to be able to do it. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Number 2.
Good evening, Minister, Chair, honorable members, distinguished officials, and fellow citizens. My name is Major Charles Brathwaite. I rise this evening to address what is being presented in my terms as a traffic solution. But this is not simply a discussion about traffic. It is a decision about how we design Barbados. It is a decision about how we invest hundreds of millions of dollars, and it is a decision about whether we solve problems properly or temporarily. Let me state my position clearly. In my opinion, Barbados does not need flyovers. What Barbados needs is a properly designed, fully integrated national transport system. Because unless we correctly understand the problem, we will spend millions of dollars and still be here having the same discussion 10 years from now. Barbados is not a large country with uncontrolled traffic. It is a small island with highly predictable movement patterns. People move across special corridors at specific times and for specific reasons. So congestion in Barbados is not random. It is structured, it is predictable, and therefore it is solvable. The fundamental mistake we are making is this. We are treating congestion as a road capacity problem, but it is not. It is a concentration of it is a concentration and system design problem. Just look at some facts for a minute. Barbados has 129 schools. Of those, 51 or 40% are located in St. Michael alone. When we include Christchurch and St. Philip, over 60% of all schools are concentrated in just 3 parishes. Now let us examine government. Out of approximately 20 ministries in Barbados, 19 are located in St. Michael. That is 95%. 10 parishes have none. So what does this mean? Every morning, students are traveling into the same area, workers are traveling into the same area, and both are using the same corridors at the same time. This is not accidental congestion. This is a daily national movement into St. Michael. We have concentrated education and government and employment, and then synchronized their schedules, and we call the result traffic. That is not a traffic problem, that is a system design problem. There are 3 real drivers for traffic. School. Every morning, thousands of students travel simultaneously, many across multiple parishes, and school starts nearly at the same time. This creates a sharp artificial spike in traffic. The solution is not infrastructure. The solution is organization. I propose we stagger.
So, Major, I don't want to cross you, but you're going to have to find a way to complete your thoughts in the next 30 seconds or so. What happened is that over the last 2 consultations, near the end, people that left that had questions that didn't get a chance to answer the questions. So I don't want to cut you because you're making good points. There's also an email and a WhatsApp where you could send in the fullness of your presentation. But if you could just compress it so that we don't lose the audience. I want you to get your point across.
I was told that last week, Monday, and I submitted an email the following day. I'm yet to get feedback from it. But I will sit, because there's no way I can do it in 2 minutes, so I will sit. Thank you.
Number 3.
Good evening to the panel, and good evening to Minister Humphrey. I hope you're well. Yes. Basically, I've heard a lot of good ideas. Over the last couple of days, you all have been having this consultation on how we tackle this traffic problem. But for me, personally, with all of this being said and all the wonderful ideas I would have heard expressed by those present and those from before, basically it's just exercising patience. And this is something that no kind of forum can teach the average human being. Patience. This is something that has to come from within. God come from you, God come from me, God come from all of us. So we can do all of this, which is all well and good, and have these brilliant, excellent ideas, some workable, some you got to really think about. But patience is, for me, the antidote to all of this. Okay? That's it, basically. But one question for you, Minister Humphrey. With people be able to know going forward who are or who will be the exact person being awarded the contract to do the roads and do over whatever infrastructure you may have. Thank you.
Sorry, Comrade Bascom, you mean generally all the roadworks we're doing across Barbados, you want to know, you want a system where those contracts, Comrade Bascom, sorry, I was asking for clarity. You want like a system where all those persons who are awarded contracts are known generally?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Jerry. And do forgive me, I forgot to give my name. My name is Adrian Bascom.
My understanding is a system called Bonfire. Honestly, I'm not sure if it's open to everyone, but it is. If you want to, you can register on Bonfire, and you can always, if you want to get a contract, you can use that system. But as far as I know, that's the system that they're using.
Thank you. We move on now. Number 4.
Good night. My name is Mubarak Nakuda. I'm an engineer. Thanks to the kind gentleman for exchanging his number for me. Mubarak Nakuda. A few things, I would just want to say thank you to the government and the minister for engaging the public in this consultation. A few things I would like to ask. Would these consultations be part of the overall feasibility study that you all will contribute towards the end result? And another thing that I personally believe that flyovers is a very reactive approach to the traffic in this country as opposed to a proactive approach. And what I say that Barbados consists of many arteries and link roads. What flyovers tend to do as general traffic studies is create bottlenecks further down the road. And you have a lot of perpendicular roads in Barbados, so those link roads, you create an even bigger bottleneck for these roads. When I was on my way, I heard someone mention the right turns, for example. If anyone recalls the road just above the Globe heading to Station Hill, the traffic lights flows in either north to west or east to south. So if there's one person in front trying to turn right and no one is heading south, allowing them to turn, you have like 10 cars behind wanting to go straight, unable to go straight. Another thing that the government should try to do, I think, especially in the 21st century, when I served on the board of directors at the Transport Board, I know there were discussions about a cashless system, and I see there's some soft launch about it now. Especially as I was mentioning, in the 21st century, you can go to almost any big city in the world which has a population like 10 times, 20 times the amount of Barbados. And again, people should be able to go on Google Maps and see there's a bus 24 that you can be able to take. So you just don't aimlessly stand at a bus stop hoping the bus can pass. Ideally, work from home. I know everybody like the idea of staggered school hours, but for parents who have multiple kids, that's not so easy. But ideally, you want to be incentivizing people to use park and ride if you do introduce it. So something like a tax rebate, if they produce how many tickets they were able to use the park and ride, because you want to encourage people to do something different. You understand? You want to encourage people to do something that they don't normally do. Now, I had the unfortunate circumstance of counting cars for 6 hours by the UV St. Augustine intersection. Yes, it wasn't nice at all. And simple things as guys selling on the highway, cleaning windshields, they affect the flow rates and the saturation flow rates so much when you take a 24-hour period into account. Like all these things we must be cognizant of. In closing, I had a discussion with a guy from Vinci Construction, which is a big French contractor who would have done the flyovers at the Grand Bazaar intersection heading to Central Port of Spain. And it's not attacked by any means, but it's common knowledge that we have a maintenance problem in this country where for far too long we wait for things to reach a crisis level as opposed to being proactive to deal with them. And you don't need to be a technocrat or expert to know that regarding a flyover, if you have maintenance or lack of maintenance, it's 10 times more detrimental to the overall infrastructure of this country. So in closing, my last point would be like, we need to also look at, as I say, look at the link roads. So for example, if I use the Huddersfield Waterford stretch, for example, I know it's easy for me to say do this or do that, but because there's acquisitions and I know the headache involved in that, the capital, the funding, the finance. But what I would say is that ideally you would like to have, if not 2 more lanes, at least 1 more lanes. In certain parts of Asia, you have a situation where, for example, we can use 2 lanes heading in to town on the morning because all the traffic is going to town, and then on the evening after 3:30, where majority of the students are picked
Hey, brother, we get the point, right? I really don't want to lose the crowd, but you're doing very, very well. You got to land your plane.
I close enough now. And on the evening when the traffic is heading out of town, you have the barrier that can be moved so the traffic 2 lanes can be heading out of town on the evening and 2 lanes can be heading into town on the morning.
Thank you very much. Let me remind you that yours is the opportunity to submit via email your general offering. Email address is information.unit@publicworks.gov.bb, or you can do so via a WhatsApp number, which is 266-3780. Number 5.
Hold on, just want to add though, to one, with the major point you were mentioning about flavors, just let you know, even though you mentioned flavors, it's not our only strategy that we are looking at. You did mention about looking at the link roads, looking at outside roads. We are also looking at everything around and all the roads, all the right turning traffic. I mentioned about Grosvenor Road and Baycroft Road, all those little right turns, all those things add to the congestion and delay all along the road. So we are looking at everything. We're not putting all of our eggs into one basket. We are doing a full gamut and suite of solutions, all right?
Thank you. Number 5.
Good evening, Minister, members of the head table, ladies and gentlemen. I must say it's a pleasure to be here.
Can you speak louder, please?
Okay, I said good evening to the Minister, you members of the head table, and to everyone else present here this evening. My name is Nicole Moore-Clark, and I have to say that I'm extremely happy. I don't know, maybe God heard my prayers, but I'm happy to be here at this forum to present my personal experiences that every weekday from Monday to Friday. I live in Christchurch, close to the airport, and my office is in Collymore Rock. In order for me to get to work starts at 8. I have my own office, so I try to get there to work by at least 7:30, 7:45. So I leave, I go down the coast road because the highway, no, I wouldn't even think of getting on the highway. And then I do the long route of going around, coming up the Rendezvous Hill, making a left into Ford's Road, then a right into Flagstaff. My problems begin when I get in from that junction at Flagstaff and Wildy. I can wait there or be in that traffic to get to my office, which is just opposite the gas station. Half an hour to 45 minutes. Yeah. And that's a journey that can take me on a Sunday morning or even a Saturday evening. From Christchurch to where I live to my office would probably be about 20, 25 minutes the most. It takes me about an hour, hour and a half to get to work, leaving at around 6:30 in the morning. So Along the way, I have to say my frustrations, and I offer no apologies to this, the ZRs and the minibuses. And I feel that, yes, we've been talking about this over and over and over, but something definite needs to be done about this. As recent as this morning, I was driving behind a ZR. Why are they allowed to stop in the middle of the road, wait for someone walking out from a side road, which can take about 5, mind you, this is peak traffic, and no one can go, especially where I travel, Maxwell, you can't overtake because the other lane is quite congested heading in the opposite direction. But they stop, they wait for the person coming out. It takes, I counted, about 5 minutes. No one can pass, and then that continues on. Now, we need solutions, and I am here to offer solutions. Could regulations be made where not only the taxis that are minibus drivers are forced to face the penalty? I also feel passengers should take the brunt of some of this lawlessness that we are experiencing on the road. Buses need to stop at bus stops. It can't be a random situation where you drive. That's most of the accidents. I've witnessed many accidents where they stop, pull off, they don't look back, and this is part of the, and I'm confident, if we can manage this and control this, it would be at least 50% that would allow proper flow of traffic. So something needs to be done. If new laws or whatever need to be made, I am an advocate, and I think that that should be done. Now, another solution I would offer as well, during peak traffic, particularly between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m., I would advocate for vehicles such as the garbage truck collections, the trucks, the container trucks, the heavy trucks. Could it be that they not be in that peak traffic during that time, so that other traffic, people who are trying to get to work and get their children to school, can do that in a timely manner? So those are my two main contributions, the ZR taxi public service, as well as the other vehicles. I call them the other, but vehicles who are not have a designated time to get to school at a certain time and to work at a certain time.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm going to invite Ruth Holder to offer a comment in response to what you've just offered. I may also remind persons, just before Ruth begins, that we have 19 offerings tonight. So that is why it's important for you to be as brief as possible. Thank you very much. Ruth, go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Ruth Holder, Director of Transport Authority. I've heard your plea. I know the pleas. We know the problems with ZRs. What I ask the public to do at always is to provide us with the information. So, Mrs. Moore, you brought your problem tonight to us, but we have no sort of evidence except what you were saying to work with it. Transport Authority, in all of its efforts, can only do so much and no more. We still have to be cognizant of the laws that exist, which will protect both yourself, as well as the ZR drivers, as well as the passengers. If John Public is willing to come and testify and say, this is what I've seen, this is what happened, provide us with the evidence, then we can take the appropriate action. So just to give you all a brief in terms of what we have been doing in relation to these ZRs and minibuses especially, last year we took the decision at Transport Authority, along with the police service, to meet and discuss some of the issues that we were seeing and how best do we address those issues. Coming out of that meeting, what we actually did is to meet with all of the owners of public service vehicles. We met with them by routes. So we did Spike Stone, we did Silver Sands, we did Fair Valley, all of the routes together with all of the owners to explain to them what it is that we're expecting, what we expect from them, what we expect from their drivers. Subsequent to that, we then had meetings with the drivers themselves. From December last year, we started suspending permits of drivers, of PSVs. In some instances, we suspended the permit of the driver, and in some instances, we did it also with the owner of the vehicle. As long as we see the infractions are coming in, and we have the information, we have the evidence, the public has been providing us with lots and lots and lots of video footage in terms of what is happening. From that, we take the appropriate action. We all must be aware in terms of the laws of natural justice that we just can't decide that we're going to do this or do that without giving them the appropriate forum. In relation to the regulations on passengers, the Transport Authority Act does provide action against passengers. Again, we don't have that evidence, we don't have that information. Once we have it, we're getting support. We're getting support from the police service as well as the support of the insurance companies. So rest assured that one morning you may wake up and hear that there's not a PSV on the road. Reason being, Transport Authority might have suspended all of them. Who knows? We're hoping that we don't get to that day, but we're hoping that we can actually, with the help of the public, see an improvement in terms of what it is that we're experiencing. But again, we rely on the public. Transport Authority, I'm going to be brief, I'm going to finish up now. Transport Authority in itself, we have a staff complement of about 37 persons. We have 939 odd PSVs on the road. There's nobody at that staff complement can manage those. There's nobody at the police service can manage it by themselves. There's nobody insurance company can manage it by themselves. So therefore, we rely heavily on the public to give us some pictures, videos, WhatsApp messages. However you choose to send information to us, then we can take the appropriate action. Hope I've addressed the concerns in relation to PSVs. Thanks. The Transport Authority, our WhatsApp number is 8361778. I think off the top of my head, I can confirm that in a minute. I think that's the complaint hotline number. Or you can send it to ta.gov.bb or information@transportauthority.gov.bb. Any video, use your dash cams, whatever. Any video, people are using their cell phones to actually video record things that are going wrong. Once you send it to us and it's something that we can action in there, granted that we're taking appropriate action. If we cannot action it ourselves, then we forward it on to the police for them to take action. I just want to give you all an example. Just around Christmas time, we had quite a few PSVs going down through St. Lawrence Gap. The week of Christmas, the 14 days before Christmas, we banned 8 PSVs, drivers and the owners. It's quite ironic that last week, we had a similar situation, or 2 weeks ago, I think it might have been, similar situation where another PSV is coming through a one-way street in the same area, got caught in an accident. So things like that, even though we are trying our best to do what is necessary, we have the footage, we're banning some are still going out there. 80%, I can almost guarantee that 80% of those guys are good. The other 20% is what gives us our greatest nightmare. If you make contact with Transport Authority, we can give you that information, but I just can't give you that information offhand. Thank you.
But I think there's a reason, my friend, that the mic exists in the middle of the room and there's a number system. Though I respect that you're so eager, because I take the point. I think the general point that's being made, though, Ruth, is that the public, if they are being asked to help, we have to make it easy for them to help. So we have to share the WhatsApp, we have to share the emails, share the websites, and so on. Thanks.
Thank you very much. We move on now to number 6.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here to see how best I can assist. My name is Erskine Cumberbatch, President of the Driving Schools Association, PRO for Road Safety. Mr. Humphrey and your partners, I'm glad to be here to put my little piece into it. First thing, we got to look at what's blocking the road. Garbage trucks from the morning picking up garbage between 6 and 8 o'clock. That needs to be looked at. No entries. For instance, right across my hall, you come out of, that is the first gap on your right, Prince Wales. You cannot go straight across the road on the Hollygon Road, but you can make a short left and then a short right to Progressive, come back up behind All Souls Church and down the road. The excuse is that is to stop the Sarah buses, vans from Bushall using that road to about up by the gas station. Cut out all of them, no entries. The roads need to be policed. The inspectors that we used to have at licensing, we need to bring them back, put them on the road. Law has been amended to accommodate them, that they can take action. If we get them back on the road and we get the road policed properly, a lot of these problems could be solved. The other one is accidents. We got more than 60,000 accidents a year. Every time there's an accident, the police now doesn't know about the accident. So they don't come to the scene unless it is injuries. We've got people from the insurance companies coming to the accident scene, staying an hour and a half or two, taking statements with the vehicle, just a minor scratch, before they would ask the person to take pictures and let them move off, and then take the statements. And that is something that needs to be done. Those insurance company personnel must be informed that you come to an accident, there's no injuries, take pictures, move the vehicles, clear the road, and then take your statements. Those are some of the things that we need to do. Below Windsor, the intersection that I heard all this money is supposed to be spent on a roundabout. We come by Combermere School and put some yellow cones in the road, a little space, and we turn it into a roundabout, eventually functioning properly. Why can't we do the same thing there, or put up lights, which is cheaper? We ain't got to cut way in the land, put up lights. Everybody got to stop according to how the lights flow. And last but not least, our lights need to be synchronized. The best working lights in Barbados now is Westbury intersection, President Kennedy Drive. That is the best working light. Hines Hill used to work, Eagle Hall used to work properly. But I hope that you all will get those working properly. And last but not least, when you press a button to cross the road, I see people, we come and press the button and wait on the thing for 1 second, and then we cross the road. So that light now is going to stop everybody for you to cross who's not there. And a lot of these lights going through that cycle, like Queen's College. Queen's College, that gives a green for people to come out of Queen's College all night time, and you got to sit now waiting in traffic. And at nights after 9 o'clock, at nights after 9 o'clock.
All right, let him finish, please. He's going to wrap up now.
At nights after 9, put most of the lights in flashing mode. Thanks for hearing me.
Thank you very much, Erskine. Jason?
All right,
you have a response from Jason Boyne?
Yeah, relative to the St. Queen's College junction, we addressed that matter today, so you should not see that issue at the moment. You had mentioned about the right turns on Bank Hall. It was not only for the ZRs, it was there also for persons who take shortcuts through the Bank Hall area. Just remember, Bank Hall is a very residential area. There are no sidewalks, and there's children, lots of persons walking all along the roads. It is a measure to reduce and to calm the traffic that is going through those areas. So it's not just simply there to stop ZRs, all right? I agree with you. I have seen garbage trucks on Government Hill during the morning peak time, and collecting garbage, not just driving on it. So I think that is an issue that definitely needs to be looked at as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Allow me the opportunity to welcome and, of course, acknowledge the Member of Parliament for St. George South, the Honorable Dwight Sutherland. It's good to see you. We will move on now to number 7. Number 7? All right, appears as though number 7 gone. Number 8.
Good evening, all. I am Victor Felix, and pleased for the opportunity to have input in. First, that the government decided to have this kind of discussion, and I'm excited of having the opportunity to make my input. I have made a submission covering some 20 plus points, but I will try to summarize in 4 or 5 points here. First, I could never understand why we continue to use paint for all road markings when there are more durable materials. There must be more durable materials out there. All right? I learned to my horror that there's no fast lane and slow lane on the ABC highway. And that is really, I learned that. All right? So, in terms of other substantive points, there's easily available space that when we are approaching the roundabouts at Garfield Sobers, at Six Roads, and at Warrens, that there's places, cut out roads that we could access, or space that we can cut out roads, so that persons who are turning right, that is no left, can escape, reaching the roundabout, and go merrily on their way. Merge lanes, I have ideas of where that we should have merge lanes coming out of Kingsland onto the ABC. We should merge there, coming out from in front of Roberts Manufacturing onto the Bell. We should merge there. You have to go do the engineering work, but there's adequate space to merge there. All right? The question about flyovers, I heard the minister at one of these consultations said that we will have discussions on flyovers, and I'm hoping that that happens. But nevertheless, I believe that we do not use underpasses and overpasses at all in Barbados. For example, at the university, there's no reason why the university, both sides of the university, should not be linked on the University Drive, on the University Hill. To my mind, in Warrens, there should be adequate provision for underpasses. Generally, I would support underpasses more than overpasses. I mean, the monstrosity we have in front of Parkinson School that hardly ever gets used. If we had underpasses, that would be better. In Bridgetown, there seems to be a general argument that we should keep vehicles out of Bridgetown. I grew up in Bridgetown. I know that in my growing up years, vehicles used to park on one side of Bridgetown and traffic flow on one lane. What we need in Bridgetown is parking meters. Right now, people who own cars don't go into Bridgetown, and then we complain that Bridgetown is dying. Or not is dying, that Bridgetown is dead. All right? The location of the Princess Alice and the river bus terminals, those are out of the way of persons who got to walk. All right? I know a time when the buses actually used to leave the bus terminal and drive through what was then Trafalgar Square, so that people had a central point that they could catch the bus. But the major point I want to make here, that the public transport and the private transport vehicles should both be using the same terminal, and that those terminals, the two terminals, should be closer together. And I have in my paper concepts of how we can move the Princess Alice activity at Princess Alice closer into Bridgetown. All right.
All right, Mr. Felix, did you say you submitted already?
Yes, sir. Yes.
All right, so you can...
All right, final point.
Thank you.
That I have an idea that we can link Holetown to Oistins by an alternative route. When we follow from, all we need to do is to link a road from Hopewell over to Prout, and we can follow straight through from Holetown. into our estates. Thank you.
Thank you also. Any comments from the table?
For the main thing in terms of the parking meters, I do agree with that. Part of the parking management strategy that we'll be looking at would include parking meters in the Bridgetown area. So that is something that we definitely would be looking towards. And I had mentioned an alternate route to the ABC Highway. I guess it's not exactly in the same route in terms of from Prout, but that is, we are also looking at all the different possible routes in terms of alternative roads. So that is something we're looking at as well. And thank you for all the other comments as well.
And also, just to add to what Jason said as it relates to alternative routes, what I'm coming to realize is that a lot of the solutions to today's problems reside right here in these smartphones that we all own and use on a daily basis. And even as it relates to traffic congestion, these can be used as a tool to help navigate around congested areas and even Bridgetown. Jason would have referenced the use of Wave earlier in his presentation. And I said, like most Bajans, we just use Wave or Google Maps for when we're lost or when we're looking for a place that we're not familiar with. We never really use it to navigate around congestion. But it really is a tool, when you look at it, that can be used, that can give you some insight as to where the traffic jams are long before you even leave work or leave home. And if you can use that tool, if you can encourage all of Barbados to whenever you're leaving, just take a glance at Wave to see where the traffic, where the backlogs are, where the traffic jams are, and you can use that then to look for alternate routes to your workplace. That can be a great assistance in getting persons, a great help in getting persons in and out of work and getting away from the frustrations. It's not something that we are accustomed to doing, but I've seen it in other jurisdictions being used, certainly in New York and all over America. People don't even start the engine unless they go onto Google Maps first. So you see that. And that's something that we want to encourage here as much as possible so you can use that technology. And there's other technology that's available that makes it easier for you. Use that technology to navigate around congestion. And that's just one of the tools. Technology is just one of the tools that we're using, not only flyovers and tunnels and all the different suggestions that we've gotten here, but the use of technology, I believe, is going to play a big role in easing and making life easier for commuters on our roads in the not so distant future.
Okay, quickly, I just want to address Mr. Felix in relation to your bus terminals. If you take a look at Spikestown, it's what we consider now to be our model terminal. In Spikestown, both the Transport Board and the public transport, they use the same terminal, and it's working out well. We looked at both the Granville-Williams as well as this river terminal with the intention of doing likewise in both terminals. The problem with the Constitution River terminal is that the turning bay is too small for the length of the Transport Board terminals, but it's a project that we're working on, that we're looking at with the intention of improving the efficiency in those terminals and making it more comfortable for passengers. So in essence, just before you get up again, because what happens is that if you want to get to, example, for Bayfield, and you go to the Granville-Williams, and there's no bus there, you have to walk over to the river terminal, so by the time you get there, chances are the bus is gone. What we're trying to do is do what we have similar in Spikestown, is to have all the buses going in the same direction, moving from the same terminal, and likewise for Constitution River Terminal. So it's a project that is active, that we're looking at, as well as you take a look, as well as Princess Alice Highway. That is also another project that we do have in the pipeline in relation to the terminals and terminal improvement. Thanks.
Making the point, and we have the minister here, and I really have a lot of confidence in this minister based on the things that he's done in other ministries, that we need to spend that we need
No pressure.
we need to spend some money in infrastructural development. Granville-Williams, Fairchild Street, all that should be rebuilt, redesign the whole space from Bridge Road, from the bridge, straight up to in front of Rediffusion. We can design that and design that out and rebuild it to accommodate both private and public sector buses.
Thank you. You know, someone sent me today, Ruth, I'm going to share with you, at 4:30, the river terminal at Constitution, and not a single PSV in there. Like, they refused to use it. And then when we met with the transport board, because many of them park right or take off right in front of the terminal when they come out to Granville Williams, the buses can hardly get out. So it's not only about infrastructure. This country has to return to some kind of order. And we have to manage. Even as you build out, you got to manage and enforce. We cannot let this culture get ahead of us, you see. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Number 9, sorry. This is a presentation or exam sheets?
Just to make it easier. We've made so many emails.
Be so kind. You have to bring this down because there's quite a lot of information. But be so kind to be as brief as possible.
Okay. My name is Waveney Best. I'm a born Bajan, although I sound American. And I'm a returning national. And I'm here to discuss the congestion traffic issues in Coral Land. I've sent emails to both the Honorable Kirk Humphrey, also a representative in the area for St. Michael East, and I have not received a response. Others have done the same thing, and this has become a serious issue. The first page gives us the issues that we're here to discuss, some resolution issues, and also, to my best, the second page is a map of our area and what we're dealing with. The other pages are just traffic laws from your Traffic Act and traffic regulations showing that what has happened is against the law. And we're here, it's not only myself, but there's several here to actually present this issue. The issue we have one entrance in and out of Coral Land, which is right next to the Goddard building off the ABC highway. What has happened is we have congestion due to traffic, commercial vehicles, trucks, Barbados Transport Board buses, defense buses, Barbados Police Service buses, and cars, all trying to learn how to drive and also conduct testing. I'm sure if I asked everybody in this area where they learned to drive, they probably say they learned to drive there. But that was a time when we had a lot of lots. Now we have a lot of homes, a lot of dwellings, a lot of cars, and it's become so congested because we and Coral Land have become the alternative service road off of the ABC highway. When you come up Norman Niles and you make that left into Coral Land, okay, and then you're going to cut through to try to get to Map Hill or Sky Mall, we can't even get out our neighborhood. Now we have the buses that come into our area, bring 25, 30 trainees, and are there all day, going back and forth all through our neighborhood. Can you imagine? Beep, 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 all day. We're about to lose our mind. We've had people that are ill, headaches, and sometimes I've had to leave my home because I can't take it. And I'm a returning national from New York, and I have never encountered this in New York. Commercial vehicles through a residential area? No. They go on the main road. They go on the main road, or they have places where they can go and learn how to drive, or either learn how to take tests. We never have testing on our roads. If you look at the map, they not only come in through the main, we have no stop signs in our area, none. No stop signs whatsoever. And we had one stop sign which was knocked down by a learner, and our individual in our neighborhood had to put back the stop sign, and it's even on the wrong side of the road, and no one has noticed this? With all this traffic, all these driving school people here? Okay. The other thing, There's so much congestion, we can't even get out of our driveways. I can give you pictures, because we've asked for meetings, videos where they block even our entrance out of our own homes. This has gone to a level where we can't continue this. It's not unfair to us. The other issue here, you have trainees come in from the Barbados Transport Board. They come 3-4 times a week with 25, 30 people, and they work all day doing the roundabout in our area all day. Beep, 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 all day. Okay? This is not only the Barbados Transport Board, but this is the Defense Force, the Police Force, commercial yesterday I counted the cars on a Sunday. From 5:45 it starts. At 12 o'clock, I already counted 30 cars, to the point there was a line waiting to even do this turn. This has to stop. You need to actually designate areas where you can take people to learn how to drive, or either create areas where you can do your testing. This is not a situation to be in a residential area. I've invested a lot in my home in returning to Barbados, and so have many of us here in this meeting. This is unacceptable. Speeding on the ABC, I'm nearly finished, speeding on the ABC highway from Norman Niles to Bussa. I don't know what's happening. They love that because it's a straight road. So they speed all night. They're speeding back and forth, back and forth. Put speed cameras or either put some policemen there, because I'm sure that you can get some revenue out of that. Because it's all the time. It's every weekend, every night. So I'm sure you can make some revenue out of that.
All right, you can wrap up now, please.
Excuse me?
You can wrap up.
Yes, sir. This area is now, what we was told to us, is considered a learner area. How could a learner area be in a residential area? Why don't you take it to them? A learner area and a testing area. It's on the list. We want our names or our area or community off the list. This is a residential area with many homes, many dwellings, many children. It should not be where driving schools drive all through our community, all through the day, all weekend, on Sundays. This is what we deal with on a regular basis, and we need your assistance. We have sent letters, we have sent emails, and no one has answered.
All right, members of the audience, please. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, ma'am.
All right, PS?
Excuse me. On your diagram, is Crest Road what we call Bird Hill? Okay, thank you. Yeah, we work in the Goddard building. I have observed. And all right.
Ma'am, I heard you. I think nobody would want that in their area regardless of where they live. So I wouldn't want it for myself, and I surely don't want it for you or for anybody else. The truth is, quite a few neighborhoods have now written to me where there are frequent areas used to teach people to drive. It's like that's where you go to learn to drive. That's definitely one. But nobody would want that. People have to learn to drive somewhere, but it has to be responsible. It has to be in a way that's fair to the residents. So I don't know that we need to say much. I said I will come and visit the area. I will speak with the team, because it can't continue. And it is just a matter of being able to police it and to be fair. I saw the lady, Gina from Transport Board. I don't know if you have something specific to say on this matter, but that Transport Board is part of the problem. It gives me no pleasure. But Gina will say something.
Hello, good night to the head table and to everyone. And I want to say that not only did you come here in group today to indicate that the transport board is contributing, not the only one that's using your area for learning to drive, as the minister would have just stated, but we took your concerns on board. Someone posted it on our website. Someone posted it on our website. We got the information for you. Our driver trainer is aware, and we are looking for alternate sites and using alternate sites. We apologize for any inconvenience caused, but as the minister said, sometimes you get accustomed, and I understand what you're saying, to using the various, community, but we have to look elsewhere. We do want to get more drivers taught how to drive our buses so we can improve the service as persons ask here for solutions, but we still have to do it in a considerate and gracious way. And with that in mind, I am hoping that the reduction has been noted. If not, you can see me on the side, and we will work on that. And I've talked to my team just now, because we are still monitoring this, even though I'm the representative here, and we intend to resolve it for you. At least you have that commitment from the Transport Board.
Thank you very much. That was Gina Boyce, Operations Manager of the Transport Board. Let's move on now. Number 10.
Yeah, good evening. Hi, good evening. My name is Rohan Moore, and protocol has been established. My colleague spoke earlier about the issues, and I just want to reinteract the solutions. And for one, actually, I'm a resident also of the Coral land. I've been there. I purchased land since 1993. And unfortunately, that land has been sold to a lot of returned nationals like myself. I lived in Bermuda, was a police officer. And interestingly enough, this form is about 8 years a bit too late. Why I say that? Because I was actually the president of the association in Haggett Hall, and we were fighting this since December 3rd, 2018. We did all the necessary letters to the Chief License Officer. We had the residents sign and petition since 2018, folks. And I'm telling you, I'm a real estate broker for the past 22 years in Barbados. One of the things I pride myself as a Barbadian, and having lived in Bermuda, I recognize I want to come back here as a young man. And I want to come back for a peace of mind. And I'm telling you, folks, it's only when you wear this shoe that you feel the pinch. This is not just a fight today. And as a realtor going through different residential areas, you will not see these learners in certain areas. And I'm sure there's some folks, as you said earlier, that has this issue. And I want to reinforce the fact that one thing is good to raise the issue, but why not offer suggestions? Let's model, because we have folks from overseas that see things successfully working. Why not implement it? And I want to suggest this evening that we have the old Barbados Water Authority building, which is actually located in the Pine, correct? And when we look at a model from Bermuda with TCD license, everything is happening in one area. There's no learning in residential areas. That's unheard of. And as we move forward in the 2000 going forward, we can actually knock down that building, expand that, and create learning facilities at that location. It's wanted to highlight issues. Why not resolve the issue? That building is right now doing nothing. That would be an extension of the licensing authority, where persons going there and they're tested in that specific area. And that's what's done accurately in Bermuda. So I just want to also to add another solution to the traffic. If you notice it, when those who commute at the rear of Sky Mall, there's a corner. There's a corner that the land that's actually privately owned. It's privately owned. And I wouldn't say who it's owned by, but I would say if it was owned by a different color, that land would have been extended to 2 vehicles to pass there. I was like, come on, this is common sense. We're in Barbados. And one thing, you get commercial vehicle passing there with high speeds. High speeds. And I believe what we can simply do a suggestion is to have...
Sorry, Rohan, exactly where you mean the commercial vehicles passing?
Okay, you know where Goddard's building is? The Goddard's building, and if you're going towards Sky Mall?
Same turn?
Yes. That is a nightmare, a daymare, all kind of mares you can think of. As long as you traverse that area, And sometimes when persons get there before you in the junction, they don't want to move. I've seen 2 traffic head on and other traffic has to wait. That corner is privately owned. And I believe the government can acquire that land and open that area wide enough that cars can flow as easily as possible. And I speak in a form that the BLP has the power to do it, and if they do it, come on now. A lot of people will say praise to what is happening. Another thing too, and I'll close with this. Speed bumps needs to be in the area of Haggett Hall. No speed bumps. There's no stop sign. There was 1 stop sign that was there that was knocked down by a learner. My building is also in Haggett Hall, and my palm tree was knocked down by a learner during a 360-degree turn. Imagine if a child was in the area. You think about being policing in Bermuda. I did not reactive policing. Anybody can react to anything, but proactive. Do things before it happens. Put systems in place, and I conclude. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Well, relative to the speed hump request, we will definitely have a relook at that in the Haggett Hall area. We had at one time Sinclair Road, we had placed the no entry signs in that area to help reduce the significant shortcuts that persons are using through the area. So if you're saying they're still having significant problems, so we're going to have a relook at the measures that we had in place in the area, all right?
Thank you, Jason. Number 11.
Pleasant good night to the head table. Pleasant good night to everyone. I am Tarshell English, and I'm here tonight first to commend the policies that I've heard. I wrote a number of things that I really wanted to discuss, but most of it, they were discussed already. You spoke to carpooling, you spoke to park and ride from central spots, you spoke to staggering work hours and school times, proper bus scheduling, and you also spoke to designated lanes. Now for me, 2 of those things are critical. I live in St. James, but I work in Bridgetown, and I have chosen to not enter my office at 9 a.m. on a morning time because I know how horrendous the traffic would be at that period. I have opted to have any meeting that I will have in any particular day no earlier than 11 a.m. And I believe if most persons have that kind of flexibility, that could help solve a lot of the problems because I have an easy route to my job. And then I have a very easy day thereafter. Now, one of the things that I am particularly not impressed with, but I would like to suggest, I know you would have mentioned designated lanes and so on, but I think it's important that we can have a designated lane for just buses. Not only the transport board buses, but for also the ZRs and the minivans. And why is that important? I lived in the States I also lived in Trinidad for a number of years. And I thought it worked beautifully when there was just a designated lane for the buses. No private vehicles were allowed to enter on those lanes except if it was an emergency or if they would have afforded access to use those lanes. So I think that is one of the solutions. And I heard my colleague earlier when he spoke, the engineer. But for me, I am one of the biggest proponents for flyovers in Barbados. I thought we should have had them since 2008 and was extremely disappointed when we didn't. I understand that it takes a lot to maintain and do all of the groundwork for that. But the ABC highway, I think, is one of the key areas where a flyover would work well. That area can be expanded to have 4 lanes going up on one side and 4 lanes down. I honestly believe the road can be expanded to that in that capacity, and that a flyover can be placed there. So that's basically it. But I really wanted to commend the government, the ministry, and all the other entities that have been working to put the policies in place. And any additional thing that I do think about, believe me, I would email it. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing those suggestions. One of the good things about travel is that when you go into different jurisdictions, you see some best practices, and there's nothing wrong with trying to apply some of those here in this Barbadian context. So really appreciate that, Miss English.
Thank you. Number 12.
Good evening to the high table. Good evening, Minister. Good evening to the audience. Minister, I'll say to you, the irritant in Barbados is traffic. You have it in your hands. This is eating away at the fabric social life of Barbadians. And I'm telling you this straight up, and I'm going to be very brief to go into my 3 points. Men in Barbados are using the traffic to stay away from the families. This is a serious... No, don't laugh. This is a serious situation. This situation now...
Just hold on a minute. With such a provocative statement, you need to give us your name, please.
Minister, I'm going to repeat again.
Just state your name and then you can continue.
Adrian Bailey, I said that, sorry. The challenge now with females, and you can see them in traffic, taking 2 hours to get to home. This young lady here, the next young lady there, with a baby in the back seat. Pampers need to be changed. It's a serious situation. It has to be dealt with. And I understand you have to fix the ground problem before you get to the flyovers. So my 3 points this evening is bus stops. There's no way bus stops in busy areas to be adjacent. Take River Road. Going out of Bridgetown, coming into Bridgetown, the 2 bus stops are adjacent. The airport is nightmare going to the airport with the 2 bus stops. But the major bus stop, and this is not an adjacent to a bus stop, the major bus stop is Trimark. And if you, Hackett Hall, Sky Mall, whatever you want to say, but the bus stop coming into town, Minister, it needs to cut away the whole wall and put in a lay-by with a slip road to ease people who are going up to CBC. It is not rocket science. If these things do not be fixed urgently, it's simple physics. People can die with stress. My next point, and I'm glad that the police service is here tonight. For all my life, the police took care of every road traffic accident in Barbados. My insurance on my vehicles are gone up, but I would like the insurance companies to pay an appendix to bring more people on the road to deal with the accidents. It's a nightmare if you get into an accident. Erskine Cumberbatch said it. It's a nightmare. If you get into an accident, waiting for an insurance adjuster, it is 4 hours. A simple situation that the police service will just get after for years. And my last point, Minister, and I would hope that you address this quick. I don't know for how we can have W Plaza on the ABC highway. The problem is not bad yet. It will get bad because if you look at Sheraton Mall has an exit, an entrance and an exit. W Plaza was built by the best engineers in Barbados with one entrance in a roundabout. If that problem is not fixed, everybody goes through the roundabout into W Plaza and comes back. December time, it pushed the traffic back up to Cormier School. Minister, the problem is in your hands. I hear the guy say that you fix every ministry. Well, I would hope that you can fix the problem with the traffic in Barbados. Good night.
just waiting to see if there's a response from the head table. But in the meantime, especially for our online audience, and be reminded that the email address is information.unit@publicworks.gov.bb, and the WhatsApp number is 266-3780. Shall we continue, or are there any responses?
Well, relative to the W Plaza, I mean, that's a private development, and yes, it did go through town planning. And that is something that we are aware of, and we are looking at this. At the moment, we've had discussions. Oh. The W Plaza, it is obviously a private development. The land surrounding it, as far as I'm aware, are private as well, and that to get an alternate access, that would require either some land acquisition or for the private developer to purchase some land. That is something though that we have noted and we are aware of, and we will continue to work with them if when need be, right?
You also made mention of the bus stops that are adjacent to each other, by Trimart, for example, and by the hospital. Now that you mention it, it's something that I've noticed over time, and solutions like that where we can go in as a ministry and look at it, now that it's been brought up, and see how we can address that, because I think that one should be an easy fix. I do not know the wisdom that went into placing those bus stops so closely together, but it's certainly something that we can examine as a ministry.
I think also, Billy, the point you made about the insurance companies, where's Billy? Oh, I hope that they're listening, because it's a good point. You're not the first person to raise it, that it takes a long time for the vehicles to be cleared from the road. I think somebody also mentioned it here tonight. And I hope people are listening. I hope the persons who control the PSVs are also listening to the plight of the persons whom they're in Caroline. I think there are some people here who actually do the thing to you. So maybe you could have a conversation with some of the persons who actually take the people driving there, because some of these things can be resolved with conversation. And if you can hear the hurt in somebody else's voice about this, then maybe we could help resolve some of these problems without the government. But I also take the point about W Plaza, because I live in that area. So it is something I think we might have to have a conversation around. Obviously, though, what we found for sure is that you don't want too many people turning onto or off of the highway. That has caused a lot of problems. So whatever the solution would be, it would have to be one that takes people off of the highway.
Thank you. We continue now as we move to number 13.
Hi, good man. Good evening. Edwin O'Neill. I'm no longer the official spokesman, but I will always speak for labor. And when there is an irritant that affects the worker, listen out for the voice of Edwin O'Neill. The most casual observer will perceive that our most critical traffic jam situations are during school time. I don't think it's because every teacher got a car. 50 years ago or so, when I started secondary school, there were 3, maybe 4 start times for schools in Barbados. I think this very school, St. Michael's, was 8 or 8:30, as was the Girls Foundation. The majority of other schools began at 9 o'clock, and the college in St. John began at 10. There were less schools then. There were less vehicles on our roads then. I can think of no more compelling reason than to restructure school times, to take notice of the problems that we have and redistribute the load over a longer period of time. Having said that, I also want to add to the mix that the government of Barbados is on record of moving this society towards a 24-hour economy. So we can't then be looking to transition to that and still be trapped in an 8-hour community, an 8-hour economy. So my proposals are: the Barbadian population is against bullyism. So we need to build some partnerships and relationships. Such consultations, in my humble submission, need to involve the Ministry of Transport, the trades unions, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Labor, the Ministry of Economic Affairs, the ministry that is responsible for productivity. I say that because if we are going to, I don't think that all of the solutions for Barbados need to be imported. We have done a remarkable job in some instances. Barbados was the first place that realized sugarcane can be grown from the seed. Barbados developed the grapefruit. Ordinary Barbadians gave us road tennis, which other people are now trying to get for themselves. It cannot be beyond us collectively to come with a solution that takes note and really seriously addresses our capacity to be innovative, to be Barbadian, and to keep the fearsome costs within our limits. I am very conscious of this because when I was wearing another hat and sat on the Bird Monitoring Committee, I know that government and Barbados were concerned about how we could manage our debt. This is an instance where we don't have to import further debt. This is an instance where collectively we can bring solutions to a vexing problem, not only in a theoretical way, but with a very practical and pragmatic approach. If Barbadians have been punching above our weight, then we need to be reminded that this is who we are. I'm much obliged, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Edwin. Be reminded, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure, Edwin, you want to take note of this, that the email address, if you want to offer any submissions, information.unit@publicworks.gov.bb, or you can WhatsApp number 266-3780.
I crave your indulgence for just the footnote. If we decide that we are going to tackle the problem of traffic congestion at the level of the school, then my proposal is that we need to have those things staggered. And I am suggesting that the zoning that the ministry uses, the Ministry of Education, be modified so that there is a city zone that can begin the earliest. There is a suburban zone that could begin another hour after that. And then there is the country zone, which would be the latest, and the transport that is used to take out one would be the same transport used to bring in the other at the turnaround point. Thank you.
Mr. O'Neill, before you leave, you mentioned a number of institutions during your presentation, but I failed to get the point that you were making in relation to those institutions you mentioned.
You're going to need the Ministry of Transport
Okay.
to handle the physical transportation. You're going to need the Ministry of Education because if you accept that it is during school time that the problem is most severe, you're going to need the trade unions that are the spokesmen and representatives for the workers who are going to be affected because they have to now start working in staggered times. And we have had partnerships between capital, government, and labor. Not all of the initiatives have been popular, but because there was that partnership, we have been able to sell what at first instance appeared to be unpopular, but what in the end proved to be the medicine that the doctor offered. The Ministry of Labor, because that's where the government employs all the experts in that area, that some may be as good as me, not necessarily better. The ministry that measures or is concerned about productivity. Anything else you want?
That's fine.
Thank you. Number 13. You're 13? I know that you will not refuse that offer. Number 14.
Good evening, protocol established. My name is Baswell Job.
Just repeat again.
Baswell Job.
Thank you.
J-O-B. I have a few suggestions that I would like to offer as relates to helping curb the traffic congestions. The scope of my suggestion is Waterford's Bottom, opposite in front of Commermere, the ABC Highway, and other few junctions that might just need a little addressing. Waterford's Bottom. I would suggest that we erect a signpost coming through Waterford's Bottom that gives those people coming through the bottom the right of way to turn right in front of Commermere, and the people who are traversing from Station Hill coming up will be required to give way to those people that they can turn. If it doesn't work, just cut down the posts. But opposite Commermere, I would suggest that we remove those lights, because if you implement that and the lights are still there, you're still going to have congestion. I would suggest that we put an overpass there where parents who are coming towards Commermere going to Bashal, you can have a curb that they can drop off the children. And for those going in the opposite direction, you can have a little semicircle going into the botanical gardens where the parents could drop off their children, who can then go over the overpass. And I believe it also provides safety, added safety for the children, so that no one could get knocked down at those lights that are there currently. Secondly, the ABC Highway, I will install a pair of traffic lights at roundabout starting from Warrens all the way up to Kendall Hill or beyond. Now, I'm not suggesting traffic lights facing every direction. I'm suggesting 2 traffic lights, one facing the minor arteries that are intersecting the roundabout. I have seen many times where there's nowhere to go, but traffic is still filtering on from those minor arteries, and the entire roundabout, the entire highway has to be congested because people refuse to just wait. And if we put in lights there, and those lights are regulated by the control center, we have cameras installed, and we can set up cameras there as well, that those controllers can determine when those traffic could pass through on the roundabout, and also don't have to block up the traffic that needs to get through on the highway. That's another alternative. If it doesn't work, just cut it down. Also, I want to make reference to a number of junctions which can be improved. I think there needs to be a bit more monitoring and evaluation. Take, for example, the junction at Country Road and Robert Street. I don't understand why that light should be on red. that light should be flashing orange. That is going to take the load from all of that traffic that was mentioned before as far up at White Park Road. And there are many other junctions like that. I see the one at Britton's Hill was actually adjusted, where you can do simple things, remove the red lights, and allow flashing amber so people can merge into the lanes. The one at Point Road, I don't understand why of about 11 different avenues, 10 of them restrict drivers from turning right, and only one, I believe, by the old Republic building that allows you to turn right. Now, if you want to get to St. Michael's School here, and you are a parent dropping off your child, you have to wait in that traffic in order length of time to get to that one right turn to go down. And if you miss that turn, as they say, crap or smoke your pipe. Because you have to go to the lights, you either have to turn right to go down to the roundabout there by the QEH, or you have to go back round by the People's Cathedral and come. I mean, that is confusion. Now, I don't know the motivation for that, but I think that by allowing people to turn right maybe between 7 to 10 can help, because really and truly you are stuck in traffic, so there's nowhere to go. Okay, the one at leaving HMB, going to that death trap, I gotta call it, because you leave HMB, you have to go to that roundabout, and the traffic come around that roundabout so fast that every day when you're there, you're risking your life. And I believe a simple solution, just open the road there by after you pass HMB to allow 2 lanes, one coming in and one going out. And you are far away from that junction at the roundabout. You are safer making that turn than to go on that roundabout and risk your life. The traffic light at the top of Culloden Road, when they had a roundabout there, traffic used to flow. Now they bring these traffic lights there, and you have traffic back up from downtown, from up Willie, wherever. And I believe a solution is to bring back the roundabout there. The reality is that anytime the traffic lights are not functioning there, you will not believe that there's congestions there. So that's the problem. Let the traffic flow in the roundabout, and then that's no problem.
All right, you can wrap up now, sir?
Excuse me?
You can wrap up now.
Yes, I'm going to wrap up now. And last but not least, I've covered everything.
All right.
So thank you.
I thank you.
Sorry, those were very specific. I don't know if you emailed those or if you WhatsApp those before. But I don't know if you had emailed or WhatsApp those suggestions before. They're very specific. But if you do so, we'd be very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Number 14. Number 15.
Hi, good evening. My name is Richard Giddens. Pretty much what I wanted to say was covered by the previous speakers. Well, what I would say is that my father, years ago, in the early days of the transport board, he was an inspector, and he would hop on and off the buses and ensure that if the 515 bus was supposed to be there at a particular time, it would have been there. And if it wasn't there, then the driver would have to find out why. And those were the days when inspectors had teeth, as opposed to toothless watchdogs that are around now. So maybe the problem, maybe one of the solutions, along with all the other things, because a lot of people are offering some very, very viable, cost-effective solutions, is that we start with the mass transit and see where we can cut out the lawlessness, see where we can ensure that that the buses, the public transport runs on time, and ensure that where, for instance, I lived in China for a little while, and when you're in Beijing and the train comes down every minute and a half, every 2 minutes, and the platform is bursting at the seams. No sooner than that, they literally employ people who push all of the passengers on the train. Not to say that we have to do that, but what I'm saying is that the point is that the 515 bus is there and it leaves at 516 by hook or crook. So if we go through a phase whereby we educate the masses, we enforce, we punish, so that we could reduce the level of lawlessness that is going on. I think that would be a good starting point for the mass transit, because the mass transit is critical. People have to get where they want to get, and they want to get there on time. And if they can't trust the public transport system, they aren't going to take it. They can buy a car and move around. That's me.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, Gina. The inspectors and making sure buses are on time, I think that's a serious consideration.
Hello, good night. Yes, as far as inspectors, I was here sitting with a colleague, and we indicated that would have been a long time ago, but the influence of having a physical person out there, I mean, it's even done in Reading in England and everything else, whereby you have a physical person going into these areas and checking to make sure that the bus is on time and the operators are doing what they're supposed to do. But what we're also looking at the board, and my CEO spoke to it at some of the other conversations, is to say that we're looking also at using technology. Not technology that can come 2 years from now. The technology is here and is on the ground and it will be launched. And we've been testing it in the back office, whereby all of our buses have on trackers. In fact, some of them may have on 2. And then what we are doing, we're acting like the pilot before the BMTA comes on board, so everybody can be tracked at some point in time, because that will help with what you're saying as far as making sure deployment is even and equitable. But what we're looking to do as part of our improved service to the public is having that bus tracked. We would have spoken about our Transit BB app that will be launching soon. And based on that app, you'll be able to pull it up and you'll be able to see what bus stops are within your influence, so the closest bus stops to you. And it will also show you what buses will be passing, if they're en route to you, how far away from that bus stop, and so on. So we took on that recommendation from before. It was a plan in place for many years, and we're now getting near the end. So even though I don't have employed inspectors per se that can go and check all areas, what we do have at the moment are buses with GPS that we're testing to make sure we can see them at different parts of the island. You know, Digicel and all of our service providers, not to call names, different persons will be around to make sure we have good connectivity, and then it'll be launched to the public. So when you see it, we have taken out, you know, a number of the bugs that might be in the system. So that will help us as well and help for the future of public transport. But I take your comment about inspectors, because somebody on the ground is always better than no one at all. And the two might have to work hand in hand.
Thank you very much. All right. I'm crossing out the numbers on my notepad. And we are now at number 16.
Good evening, brothers and sisters. My name is Winston Coppin, a retired civil servant with a few years at the Ministry of Transport and Works as the principal counsel. First of all, let me say, I don't begrudge the current officers in the ministry, because traffic management and road traffic is a dynamic thing, and it has created problems throughout the world. We don't have the landmass to relocate our cities, as in Lagos. It used to be Lagos, it's now Abidjan. It used to be Rio de Janeiro, it's now Brasilia, etc. The point I'm making, we don't have this. We are constrained with our physical land space. And as a result, we have to provide solutions. And I want to talk about 3 things: legislation, maintenance, and the licensing authority. I wouldn't go into any detail, but just look at it from a cursory perspective. I've already submitted some emails because I still have my records. within the bosom of the ministry are all the solutions which have been posited at the fora, all the different fora that you would have had. The legislation and the gentleman that spoke about the, in terms of where persons are learning to drive, and I don't know if he had a preview of what was in the ministry, but that area behind the ministry and above where the old Barbados Water Authority was landmark for that same purpose, because it has a hilly part, a flat area, and where you can do your training in that area. No. In terms of traffic, Jason, you would have known, you would have worked with us. We would have worked with various persons, stakeholders, for over 2 years in terms of compiling various legislation. The legislation was approved by both cabinets, the cabinet of the DLP and the cabinet of the BLP. It went to select parliamentary committee. We was, the last one was headed by the current Prime Minister, but they had an election and it come to naught. But if you look into the ministry, there are aspects of everything that have been brought. They have legislation with respect to vehicles, the Axwell way at the port. They have all the coordination and collaboration with the utilities companies. All of that have been dealt with. And as a civil servant, I felt a little taken aback, because it would have shown that, look, or it would appear that the civil servants of the past didn't do anything. I know that you and your current team is on a little bit of constraint, because by virtue of attrition, the chief technical officer, Mr. Archer, gone in a short time, Frank Thornhill would have gone in a short time, National Level would have gone in a short time, and unfortunately, Philip would have died in office. The point I'm making, and I'm saying, the ministry cannot disabuse itself of any solutions, whether it be flyovers or otherwise, because flyovers have been a solution to traffic management all over the world. Singapore, which is just about 110 square feet more than we have, 3 mileage than we have, they have 80 all over the world. So don't be intimidated and say Barbados and to get the flyovers. If the data and the analysis suggests that flyovers is a better option, use it. Think outside the box. Do like National Level. When National Level, in terms of looking at the Wildy turnoff, but lots of people who are disagreeing with it. Is it in outflowing and being part of the traffic management system of Barbados? The point is, do not be taken aback. You have the training. You have, I don't think, you might not have the institutional experience, but you have the training where you can think outside the box and advise the minister. Minister, you are new to this. But I am saying to you, within the ministry, there are all the things that we have talked about in terms of whether they are vendors on the road, whether they are laybys. All of that have been dealt with from a legislative perspective. No. Maintenance. Ms. King, what is the position with the laboratory at the ministry in terms of ensuring the quality product of terms of the construct of the roads? Is the lab still working?
I'm sorry, I nodded. Yes, the lab is still working, but we have recognized that it needs to be upgraded.
Thank you.
And we have started to look at the equipment necessary for it, because we do believe that we need to use it both during, we do testing, as you know, during the construction. We also want to do testing after for work that has been done already to ensure that it is what it was supposed to be. If it is not standing up, we're doing testing. We want to be able to do the testing to find out why. So the lab is a major area that we are looking at, and we agree that it needs to be upgraded, and we have had those discussions and started to look at that.
Thank you. Now, with respect to the licensing authority, when I was at the ministry, we introduced when we go to International Road Federation conferences, we were embarrassed by our red book. You can remember the red book? Huh? We lobbied. We had, even from within the civil service, we had to prepare 2 cabinet papers with respect to getting our plastic license done. And it was done in-house. It was done in-house. That is why, because I used to feel embarrassed when we go to conferences and everybody taking out the plastic license, and we brought a book. So I said that to say this. The ministry, with respect to the current situation, if I go to pay my insurance, there should be, and I'm suggesting this, and I've suggested it before, that there be a memorandum of understanding with the GIAB, with the General Insurance Association of Barbados, where you can having paid your insurance, you can use your computerized system where you can pass that information to the licensing authority, and the licensing authority, person would have to go to the licensing authority with respect to the insurance and getting verification, because they would have, and also, because then the police can go into the ministry, to the licensing authority, with respect to any data that has to be seen. Obviously, there will have to be synergies between the licensing authority, the General Insurance Association of Barbados, and the police, so that when I pay my license, I do not have to go to the licensing authority, because that is a problem.
Sorry, sir, I didn't want to interrupt you, but just be very careful in terms of your time, and we're not moving away from the focus of tonight's presentation.
I guess,
so we need to wrap
you
up
tell me
shortly.
how long it was here? Anyway, I understand that, and I would end. But the problem I'm saying, that the licensing authority, the situation that currently causes all the problems with respect to people going to the licensing authority, that could be put away by virtue of technology. Use the technology. Have synergies between yourself, the Insurance Association of Barbados, and the police, because it can be cross-checked to see who paid the insurance or have not paid. I've also the gentleman here, he was in.
Please, sir. Okay.
Just one more.
Please.
For the transport board. The transport board also can use their technology. You can monitor the system, the terminals, in respect of how the terminals are flowing. You can do that, and you can make corrections on that area. Anyway, I have made submissions, but I have said the ministry, P.S. Wiltshire, the ministry has files that deal with 95% of the issues that have been posited in these respective fora.
Thank you very much.
Good night. I am Trika McCarthy Brooms, the acting chief.
Could you speak louder, please?
Oh, okay. Can you hear me any better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Good night, everyone. I am Trika McCarthy Brooms, the acting chief licensing officer, and I'm very happy to announce to you that the licensing authority is modernizing, and we are in the testing phase of linking the Insurance Association with the licensing authority, also with the police, also with our other stakeholders. And we are also going to be, in short order, rolling out a new digital driving license. So we're moving from the red book to the plastic card, to no card at all. And we're going to be having the first time in Barbados and in the Caribbean, our first digital driving license. So we are modernizing, we are moving forward. Persons right now can go on the bla.gov.bb website and register to pay your driver's license for 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years, all now. Also, persons who just passed the regulation test or did the regulation test, you can pay online. So we are advancing, we are moving forward.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And just to add, Mr. Coppin, to what Ms. King would have said, I remember you as a young officer working at the ministry. That was many years ago. But as it relates to the lab, I know you asked about where we are with the lab, but you'll be happy to know that I think it was 2 years ago, we would have met with Arizona State University and with the lab there, and we worked out a program where we could train our lab techs, because we realized that, yes, we need to upgrade our information, but we also need that training for the personnel in there. So that's something else that we as a ministry has also visited. So the lab is not a forgotten place. It's not.
Thank you.
Also upgrade your PR to let the public know what your ministry is doing.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's move on now to number 17.
Good evening, Mark Thompson. About 35 years ago, we built a highway, ABC Highway. And we travel on it completely differently than how we used to travel. But the bus routing system is pretty much exactly the same as it used to be when I caught the bus in the 70s, when I was going to school. There's been decentralization. So I suspect when you do numbers of people going into Bridgetown, they're probably passing through Bridgetown, I suspect. So we have a highway where we are driving north-south, essentially, and we are getting off at what I call the nodes, the roundabouts. But the bus system doesn't even follow any of that. There's no, let's say, any, express service, let's say from, I don't know, Norman Niles to Warrens, and then from Norman Niles to, certain parts of the highway. And maybe you can get off at the roundabouts, and you have from there feeder transportation, transfer points where you can go west or east, essentially, because the highway roughly runs north-south. Maybe a different way of thinking is a completely different routing system. Maybe the fact is that the ABC Highway itself was a completely bold idea, which completely transformed the way that we move, and maybe we have to completely think about the routing system, because it doesn't work. It doesn't work for how people move, because everybody doesn't work in Bridgetown. So I think you need to look at that. I don't know if you consider that. I think that's something that should be looked at, a completely different routing system. And maybe it's a combination of the transport board and the private vehicles, right? Private vehicles. And maybe at the nodes or the roundabouts, they're also not just transfer points, but maybe there's park and ride as well. Maybe there's something like that. But I think that the solution here, generally speaking, is a much better public transportation system. Because if you want people to put their vehicles down, or you want less cars on the road, people have to put their vehicles down. So I heard you talk about maybe allowing express lanes on the highway. I don't know. Maybe that's the way. I have no idea. If you can take it further and go purely to, let's say, you can consider a monorail or something like that. I mean, this is speaking, but the point is that if you had a really effective transition that's free of the traffic and that glides over the top of the traffic, maybe that would be something that could be considered. Just some thoughts and thoughts I put out there. People have already spoken to the issue of the congestion as it relates to the schools and the government offices. 25 years ago, the Chamber of Commerce did a study that showed exactly that. So, this is nothing new. So whether it involves staggered hours, whatever the case may be, and I hear talk about staggered work hours. We had COVID, we came through COVID. We learned some things then, but we kind of come right back to the status quo. Maybe there should be some rethink of that. Flyovers. Not sure whether they are the solution, but a flyover on the highway means, because the highway has 80 kilometers an hour, you have to start further back to fly over because it's 80 kilometers an hour, there's a speed limit. Now, when you do that, you're creating space underneath. I don't know what happens to that space underneath, but you're creating space underneath. And if you're not flying over all 4 lanes, it doesn't make any sense. I remember there was a solution some time back where 2 lanes were supposed to fly over in either direction, and then the other 2 roads would go down and come back, which makes no sense to me. You're just creating bottleneck. If you're not flying over all 4 lanes, it doesn't really make any sense. So you would have to increase the 4 lanes and then the feeders, right? I'm not necessarily seeing that is a great solution. Maybe a solution might be to fly over with the local roads, because the local roads is less. The speed limit is less. It's only 2 roads, and you may just need to fly over the highway as opposed to the highway flying over the local road. That's my contribution.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you. We'll move on now to PS.
Before we move on, a number of persons have been watching the presentation this evening, and they have sent me a number of WhatsApp messages. One in particular has indicated that we should not forget senior Barbadians in the implementation of the various measures. And Gina and Trika, you all may want to speak to this. One in particular said, please do not take away the plastic license. And please don't make the bus system payments completely digital. Many old Bajans who still drive and or take the buses don't want to use a phone to pay for a bus or to have to save their driver license on their phone. Trika, you want to speak to this? I know
yes,
you certainly wish to do so.
I definitely can speak to this. We're not taking away the driver's license. We're giving you another option. You can have a digital driver's license or you can have the card. So you have an additional option. So there are some persons, as you will know, that just don't want any additional cards anymore, or they lose the cards rather quickly. So you have an additional option of having a digital driving license. And we will speak more of that at another forum. Thank you.
All right, Gina.
Hi, good night. Yes, even though we are looking at been promoting our cashless system, we are making it with more options. So yes, those persons that want to use their smartphones and tap, there'll be an option for that. Those persons that want to purchase a card and tap, there's an option for that. But what we also have, and speaking specifically for seniors, they have the option to tap with their ID card as well, which they already have. So it's no new technology, nothing new that you have to learn how to do. You just come in and you tap that card. You can contact the transport board. Some people, you had the whole discussion if you can pin or not pin. There are no options available whereby you don't have to pin your card and be confused about your data, and how that will be used. There are options whereby you just have a simple card, whether it's your ID card or not, and you can tap. So we are all about options, likewise as licensing. And if I could make a quick comment about the ABC Highway and the express services. If we're talking the development of our ABC Highway route was the first option of diverting from going into town. So we have buses that begin at Bailey's in St. Philip. We have buses that begin at St. George. We have buses that go down University Hill. We have buses that keep straight across on the highway. None of these buses go into Bridgetown. Yes, it might be a small motion in the right direction, but we did take that on and understand that all buses don't need to go into Bridgetown. We also have to remember that the persons in Bridgetown, whether we're moving some of the commercial centers into the urban areas or outside of Bridgetown, people from town is a densely populated area, still have to get out of town or go back into town to get to these areas. So we have looked at ways not to send everything into town. I believe that, like another contributor made, maybe we have to promote some of our cross-country services or services that don't go into town to increase usage. But we do have those alternatives there for persons that they can use currently.
Thank you. Number 18.
Good night. Table and guests. No, I just want to make a few. My name is Leon Blaze. I just want to make a few comments and recommendations. And a presenter earlier mentioned concern about the bus stops along River Road. I want to take it a little further towards the roundabout, the nearby Eden Waters roundabout. That road has been repaved, and there's no markings at that road. So a driver approaching that roundabout doesn't know if to go the left lane to go straight to Colorado or the right lane to go straight to Colorado. So Jason, Mr. Boyne, perhaps that we have to look at that road with no marking there. With the likelihood of you having a school, the Garrison School coming to that Colorado area, you might have to turn that portion of that Colorado Road into a bus lane. There are two lanes going eastward, and you might have to put one of those two lanes as a bus lane to facilitate the entrance and exit of schools and people going to the school. Okay? I mentioned before about the Jersey barriers along the highway, nearly illuminated at night, and I'm sure I had some calls from one or two persons who indicated it is important because they can't see. They agree to me that they can't see. I want to welcome the use of the cat's eyes along the roads. I believe that most of you will realize that cat's eye. I want to compliment the ministry on putting down those cat's eye, those dark roads. But there are lots of junctions still need cat's eye. All right? The yellow box system that we mentioned that when it was at Dayton Griffith need to be reintroduced. And as Winston said a moment ago, you need to explain it from your PR side what it means so that persons can better understand the importance of it. I know what it means, and initially when it came up, I was in the force. But I'm saying it's important that you can deal with intersections because of that yellow box system. Now, along Border Hall Road, as you're going east, going Highway 5, just after you pass Border Hall, there's a Y. The Y, there's no sign indicating that vehicles could have to turn right. Maybe you should need a sign just before that Y, tell you vehicles are inclining right, give way, so that traffic coming from Highway 5 going straight down do not have an accident. There are too many accidents happening at that junction that could be avoided if there's a signage there. So consider signage, consider some cat's eye in that same area. That can work. I just want to... No. At 6 Roads, I didn't get a chance to get my Prince Margaret last Wednesday. At 6 Roads, there are lots of junctions that we could deal with. If you pass 6 Roads, you're going Grove Road, there are about 3 of them. There's the entrance to the gas station, there's the entrance to Chefette, there's the entrance to the supermarket. about 40 feet apart, all about 40 feet. And maybe you got to start turning. Nobody can turn right. They should always turn left to the roundabout, especially for the gas station. You can make the road above the gas station one road, one way. Sheffield should be able to, say if you get somebody lease land, that Sheffield can enter from 4 side and come in. Because the entrance of Prismar School and the exit of Prismar School is affected by the same thing. So that is something you have to look at. Unfortunately, they get up there, so I just want to make my contribution. I can send it to
I was just about to make that suggestion.
Right. Yeah, I'll.
So you can wrap up now, Leon.
Not yet. No.
Not yet?
Mr. I just want...
For your convenience.
Yes,
and the recognition of time.
Yes,
All right.
I just pulling your legs. I just want to mention one other thing.
Go ahead.
On Robert Street, as you go, Robert Street and Culver Rock, there's an island in the road beyond Country Road Junction. There were signs there to prevent people from encroaching on the other side. So you need to put out those signs and keep left side. Up by Purity, you need that keep left side. Those places replace those signs. By the Polytechnic, there's a sign there knocked down. All those signs want replace signs that are durable. And there are lots of other signs generally you need an audit. So there's a lot of signs in Barbados that are rusted that need replacing. We have to do something about that. I'm going to send the information to the PS, and I want to thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Leon. And just remember, for those that the email address, you who are here and who would want to submit, information.unit@publicworks.gov.bb, or you can you can WhatsApp 266-3780. Our final offering now comes from number 19.
A pleasant good night, but see the best for last.
Doesn't mean that you're going to be long, though.
I ain't going to be long. My name is Chulang Searles.
Sorry, I didn't get your name.
Let's repeat your name again, please.
Chulang Searles. Searles. Now, I get empathy to the public search vehicles because on morning they all compete with the private owned vehicles on the road. I used to live in Darrow's Heights, St. George, just below Board's Village, and get on the bus at 7 o'clock and don't pass Commonwealth School till 8. Right? Darrow's Heights is just behind Lower Estate, by ready-made, ready block, and I get him past Commonwealth till 8. You know why? Because the roundabouts negotiating traffic, and I on a bus. So the public transportation that are people like me who don't got a vehicle gotta compete with the private. The problem is that governments historically did not see the need to expand outside of Bridgetown, outside of St. Michael's. So everybody got to go to some part of St. Michael's to go to work, and Christchurch, and parts of St. George and parts of St. Thomas. Even although we tried to put shopping centers outside of town, we still got problems because it's still close to town. Because Warren's close to town, Skymore close to town, even Cooleyman close to town. If you don't understand that. So you're coming from St. Michael to go to Cooleyman, you're coming from Christchurch to go to Cooleyman, and all the traffic. So we have got this problem for a while because everybody, and what has Mr. Humphrey make it worse is that we want to encourage people to get electric cars. Electric cars are not second-hand, they are new. So what do you do with the car that you owned before? You either sell it to somebody or get somebody to drive. So you increase vehicles on the road, and that is really called the congestion. The increase in traffic on the road, private more so than public. So as a colleague of mine said earlier, patience is what we got to encourage people in, because even although we having these sessions, nothing is like making a cup of tea in an instant. You know, your hot water, tea bag, 3 minutes, you done, draw up milk, you're done. It isn't like that. It takes time, and people have to learn to be patient. I don't think the park and ride going to work, because it's the same thing. If all of we park we cars on Queen's Park and go to work, all we going to try to get to Queen's Park to get on the same road to go home. So you can imagine 50 cars from Queen's Park trying to get to Queen's Park, the company road with other traffic to get home. Everybody leaving St. Michael's to go home. So it can take a lot of thought to really figure out what we need to do, because we cannot really expand the opportunities for where labor will work, because we have to choose the best places to put labor. And mainly labor is best suitable or near to the ports of entry, because retail sector and even service sector rely on goods and services. And then there are certain areas in the country where you can't even set up a proper house. Like my friend was saying, I don't understand, because the land isn't suitable for structures that we need for commercial enterprise, far less something to house, right? So with that in mind, we must understand that we have this situation with us, and even if we have a solution now, 10 years down the road, we're going to have the problem again. So we have to sit down really and figure out how we can do. But the key factor is we're going to need patience, because improve housing in Hope near St. James, people can walk cars to get to the supermarket and get back. More cars Spring Road. You do something housing development in St. Thomas to get to work and want to wait on the bus, more cars Spring Road. So as we develop our country, it can still be there. Thank you very much.
Thank you also. Thank you very much. That brings an end. I see one hand.
I see about 4 or 5 now, you see, so that's the problem when you open the mic. You will be the absolute last.
Yes.
Because I was here.
You will be the last.
I didn't know you had to take a number.
Okay,
My
just
brother,
go ahead, please.
Go ahead.
Vincent Austin.
Use the microphone, come forward.
Vincent Austin. I want to deal with the minibuses. If there's congestion with the minibuses, I want to split them in half. Half work from 5 to 2, and another half work from 2 to 12. Stop them from parking 4 feet from the sidewalk when the police passengers are taking them up, called a block in the road. And the same way it is published with their nurseries and the travel agents, owners, do the same thing with the minibuses and the others. So you know who the blocks are and who get in trouble. And I'm going further. I will leave the rest next time.
Thank you.
Listen, give me a second, Antoine. If you can be as brief as he was.
All right, good night. My name is Denzel Boyce. I have some
Speak
real...
louder and repeat your name.
Good night. My name is Denzel Boyce. I have some real serious concerns about Highway 1, about planning, and about the way forward. Recently, we've been hearing a lot about the tsunami warnings and all this kind of stuff. If there's any kind of crisis happening on Highway 1, especially between the University roundabout and Holders Hill, we got all sorts of problems. As you go further down, it gets even worse. We doing a lot of...
You're making a really good point, but you need to come closer to the microphone.
Right. We doing a lot of development in the St. James and beyond areas. We even plan to move the police station from Whole Town. And I think we need to start looking at some alternative routes. I don't know if anybody from the Ministry of Transport has been looking into this. I don't know if there's any collaboration between town planning and the other agencies that would be involved in these activities. I don't want to take too much time. I don't know if I can get to the other meeting, but I'll be more prepared next time.
All right. But remember also that...
Yeah,
go ahead, Jason.
I just want to say that there are other ministries who are actually working on that. They have They have installed tsunami warning signage along the Highway 1, and in fact, they're going to continue to do more of that as we speak. So, you know, when there's a tsunami coming, I don't think there's a possibility you should be getting in a car. I think you're going to have to use your 2 feet and really travel to get to higher elevations. So you're not likely to use a car to escape a tsunami. So, but as I said, tsunami signage is being installed along the West Coast as we speak.
Right, I agree with you, but I was trying to make a bigger point.
Yeah, I was just saying you're making a bigger point, for
Right.
sure. And I got the point. So I think we need to talk about it. Minister Cattle, who's the Minister of Planning, and myself, we have decided that most of our meetings we have to spend not only talking about current infrastructure, but forward planning, forward thinking. Because resilience has to mean more than just being a buzzword. We have to plan properly. If there's an event now, where do people go if they're down on that road? You're really talking about taking people off. Yeah, I get you. So if we could have a further conversation, if you want to WhatsApp it to the number that Antoine will say in 10, 9. Antoine.
Yes, the WhatsApp number 266
Thank you.
3780.
Okay, and then you would be the last. I think you had you had your hand up too? You're the last. You're
Okay.
good.
Final, last.
You're the last.
The last.
Last. I ain't gonna sing. I just want to get straight to the point, right? I want to thank every person that come up tonight and talk and give the views about.
You gotta say your name, sorry.
Oh, my name is Paul Harewood. As you can see, I represent Pickup. Now, as a person that is on the road every single day, we could talk about all these solutions and stuff, right? But there's some things that does affect me on an everyday basis. Now, we talk about all the ministries coming together in collaboration, right? But one of the worst things that can happen is when somebody pave a road, and they know water authority call come and dig it up, right? Now, they had a ditch by Rubis Wildy, a 4-inch ditch. That road did no get do. And that ditch was there for 2 weeks. And if you see that one ditch, the amount of traffic all down by Grand Hall roundabout, what I'm saying is that if there's any work that has to be done on the roads, we could talk about all the flyovers and this and that. But if you got potholes, look, you could go on a nice road, but it got full of potholes, then everybody that can drive fast through it. So what I'm trying to say is the little things that sometimes, that we got to look at. When there's work done, whoever responsible for digging up the road should be at least patch it in a way where it's still possible. Too many times I go to places and I see the roads dig up, and then she or he ain't want he pretty car, me talking straight, and that man is a whole thing. What I'm saying is that in order for we to talk about traffic and solutions and flyovers and things, we gotta look at those little things because it's those little niggles that just cause traffic. Secondly, I think that we have gotten so accustomed to this that even in driving, how many times I'd be behind people and they gotta beat the horn, beep, 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 because what? As soon as they stop, what I'm saying is, you remember that had the time where they were saying if you get catch using this, you pay a fine? You need to implement that. There's a lot of things, or enforce it. There's a lot of things that has been brought to the table that nobody can reinforce. You remember the time with the helmet, you had to wear a helmet. It's those little things that we overlook because we want to talk about futuristic. If you can do any expansion on the road, you got to think 45 years ahead. Because when they was building the highway, they never thought that, they would have got this much cars. Someone's trying to say. So that is just my solution. So you can have a ministry, but at the end of the day, all ministries have to work in hand in order to deal with not only traffic, but education, with labor and how we do things. Because in 2026, we shouldn't go be dealing with these sort of things. I'm not saying that they ain't got hiccups or delays, but we shouldn't be dealing with these sort of things, especially when they see a brand new road, no pave. And they thinking, boy, driving good. They bug down, you know, we got a big hole now. Water authority come and dig up, cause then forget to what. What I'm trying to say is that if you know that this is a road that has to be paved, everybody look and say, all right, I understand. But what I'm trying to say is that at the end of the day, yeah, everybody got to work together in order for it to happen. We could got all the ideas, right? But if you don't deal with those little things, it's always a problem.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Our final comment, remarks. Sorry? Okay, go ahead, please.
I will say to you that you are absolutely right. It is those little niggling things that causes a massive problem. We have started to work in conjunction with the Water Authority. We are starting to work more closely so that that occurrence would not happen as often. As you said, there's never going to be a perfect, right, some things you can't plan for, but I agree with you, we will start to collaborate more. Sorry?
Oh, let her finish, please.
So we are looking at that because, as you said, we can look at all the big things, but those little things do matter, and we are taking that into account. All right? So I just want to give you that assurance.
Thank you very much. That was the Chief Technical Officer, Jennifer King. And now I will allow the final remarks, closing remarks. Minister of
Firstly,
State.
I would want to thank each and every one of you who took the time and made the effort to come here tonight to give your suggestions. I'm finding more and more often we are getting some good, rich information rich data in terms of solutions that could possibly address the congestion that we all struggle with every day. This ministry is a listening ministry, and this ministry is a learning ministry. We have taken on board some of the things that were suggested, and rest assured that some of what was suggested in this tonight and the previous consultations will be put in place in short order. Because that's what this is really about. This is about listening to the people, because we don't have all of the solutions in-house. We have some, we don't have all. And that's why this is important. And I wouldn't want persons to believe that it's just a talk show, that persons are listening, that we're just here to talk, or it's performative in any way, shape, or form. But in actual fact, we believe that to wrestle this problem to the ground is going to take a number of different solutions. No one solution can address traffic congestion in this country. There are too many reasons, too many causes for that congestion. And we're going to have to look at it in a holistic way if we're going to solve the problem. So once again, I want to thank each and every one of you for your contributions, and to let you know that this consultation continues on Wednesday at the Alexandra School in North, for those persons who struggle with North, which is similar in the sense that there's congestion, but the reasons are quite different. But we all suffer the same way. So for those of you who follow, and those of you who are listening and want to make a contribution, you can see us on Wednesday at the Alexandra School. Follow by next Wednesday at the Lester Vaughan School, where we will look at the issues that impact those living in the center of the country. So thank you very much, everybody. Good night, and God bless. Get home safely.
Thank you very much, Minister of State, Dr. Romel Springer. Remember, we are going to the North on Wednesday night, 6:30 at Alexandra School. And for those of you who want to submit your offerings, even at this time, prior to that, you can go to email address information.unit@publicworks.gov.bb or WhatsApp 266-3780. Thank you very much, everyone. Travel home safely.